Imagine you're walking through a quiet, wooded area on the edge of a growing city. It's late winter, 1957. The air is still and cold. You're checking your muskrat traps, just like any other week, when you spot something that doesn't belong. It's a large cardboard box, half hidden in the undergrowth. You've had your own run-ins with the police, so you decide it's best to just leave it alone and move on. You have no idea that inside that box is a secret that will haunt your city for decades. A secret that proves the most terrifying monsters are the ones you never see coming, and that some nightmares are all too real. If this is the kind of strange, dark, and mysterious story you find fascinating, make sure you subscribe to our channel. We dig through the shadows of history to find the truth, and you won't want to miss what we uncover next. February 25th, 1957. A college student is driving down Susquehanna Road in the Fox Chase neighborhood of Philadelphia. He spots a rabbit darting into the woods, and knowing there are animal traps nearby, he pulls over to check it out. He didn't find a trap. He found a large J.C. Penney box, and inside, wrapped in a worn plaid blanket, was the naked body of a small boy. The child was thought to be between 4 and 6 years old, and he was pale and disturbingly thin. His hair had been recently and crudely chopped off, with clumps of it still clinging to his body. He showed clear signs of severe malnourishment, but also signs of care. He seemed to have been washed recently, and his fingernails were neatly trimmed. But that small bit of care couldn't hide the horror. His body was a landscape of bruises, and he had surgical scars on his ankle, groin, and chin. The official cause of death was blunt force trauma, multiple blows to the head. In the optimistic post-war boom of the 1950s, this was a horror the city just wasn't prepared for. The Philadelphia Police Department launched a massive investigation, certain that someone somewhere had to be missing this little boy. They took his fingerprints, confident an ID would be quick. They were wrong. The box he was found in had once held a baby's bassinet, but that clue went absolutely nowhere. The police printed 400,000 flyers with a sketch of the boy's face and put one in every single gas bill in the city. In a truly desperate move, they even dressed the boy in children's clothes, sat him up, and took a post-mortem photograph. They were hoping to show him as he might have looked in life, praying it would spark some flicker of recognition. But nothing came. Not a single parent, relative, or neighbor came forward. It was like the boy had just appeared in that box out of thin air, a ghost with no past. He became a symbol of a city's grief, known only by the headstone he would eventually be given. America's unknown child. As the weeks turned into years, the case only got colder. The file on the boy in the box became a kind of legend among homicide detectives, passed down from one generation to the next. For many, it was a sacred duty, a promise that this child would not be forgotten. Over the decades, hundreds of leads were chased down, each one a tiny spark of hope that eventually burned out. Investigators checked local orphanages and foster homes, but every single child was accounted for. They looked into a theory that he might have been a refugee from the Hungarian Revolution, but that was another dead end. The case became a magnet for theories. At the scene, a man's blue corduroy cap, a child's scarf, and a handkerchief with the letter G were found nearby, but these clues never led to anything concrete. One of the most compelling theories didn't surface until 2002. A woman, known only as M, came forward with an incredible story. She claimed that back in 1954, her abusive mother had bought a young boy named Jonathan from his parents. M said her mother abused the boy, and that one day in February of '57, after he vomited up a meal of baked beans, she flew into a rage and slammed his head against the floor, killing him. The story sounded plausible, but M had a history of severe mental illness, which made her account impossible to fully verify. And so that lead eventually fizzled out, just like all the others. For more than 60 years, that was the story of this case, a flash of hope followed by darkness. The boy in the box remained a haunting question mark, his identity locked in silence. Before we get to the breakthrough that finally changed everything, think about this for a second. With so many dead ends, what do you think happened? A dark family secret buried for generations? Or a random monstrous act by a stranger? Let us know what you think in the comments. For decades, the investigation was stuck in the past, limited by the technology of its time. But in 1998, a new kind of hope emerged: DNA analysis. The boy's body was exhumed and a small DNA sample was taken. It was entered into national databases, but for years, nothing. More silence. Then, in 2019, he was exhumed a second time. Forensic science had taken another giant leap forward, and investigators were ready to try a new game-changing technique: investigative genetic genealogy. This was the same tech that had helped unmask the Golden State Killer. It was a serious long shot. The DNA was badly degraded after 60 years. One forensic scientist described the sample as being like confetti. It took 2.5 years of painstaking work just to get a usable genetic profile. And then, they got a hit. Not a direct match, but a connection. A distant cousin who had uploaded their DNA to a public database. It was the single thread investigators had been waiting for. Working with genealogists, they started the enormous task of building a family tree, not from the top down, but from the branches inward. They identified relatives, conducted interviews, and slowly, piece by painstaking piece, they closed in on the truth. They finally found the name of the boy's birth mother, which led them straight to a court order for his original birth certificate. On December 8, 2022, the Philadelphia Police Department held a press conference that made news around the world. After 65 years, 9 months, and 13 days, the boy in the box finally had his name back. His name was Joseph Augustus Zarelli. He was born on January 13, 1953. Identifying Joseph Augustus Zarelli was a massive victory for a city that never gave up on him. We now know he was from a family in West Philadelphia. We know the names of his parents, both of whom are now deceased. We even know he has living siblings. For 65 years, his grave read, "America's Unknown Child." That headstone has been replaced with a new one, bearing his name and his picture. But giving Joseph his name didn't solve his murder. In many ways, it just opened a brand new chapter of unanswered questions. Police have said they have their suspicions about who is responsible, but they haven't named anyone because it's still an active homicide investigation. Why was a 4-year-old boy treated with such cruelty? Who hurt him? And why did no one ever report him missing? For all the answers technology gave us, the core mystery, the who and the why, is still locked in the past. The story of Joseph Augustus Zarelli is a powerful testament to the dedication of generations of investigators who refused to let a nameless child be forgotten. It's a heartbreaking reminder that behind every cold case is a real person, a life cut short, and a story that deserves to be told. It closes one chapter, but the terror of this unsolved case lingers, and it leaves us with one final haunting question. How many other lost children are out there, waiting in silence for the world to finally remember their name? If you want to explore more cases where the truth is stranger and more terrifying than fiction, check out our playlist of unsolved mysteries right here. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next investigation into the terrors of the unsolved.